I'm Mr. Divery, and this is One Geek's Opinion. It's been a really long time since I did a video, and I just wanted to post something, so I thought I would do a review of Venom. I saw Venom. It wasn't bad. I mean, what could I say that hasn't already been said? If you want my opinion on Venom as a film, my good friend, the Methodical Triple A, did a really great video, and as always, I agree with him on like 99% of the things he said. It's a good film, not great. Everyone has said that. I have nothing new to add to the conversation. But as a comic book nerd, especially a classic Spider-Man comic book nerd, there was something missing. Something I would have liked to have seen, one minor character change that would have made the whole film 10 times better for me. Replace Carlton Drake with Peter Parker. For the 8 of you who don't know, in the comics, Peter Parker gains the symbiote and uses it to help him fight crime, until realizing that the symbiote wants to hurt people. He then finds a way to separate himself from the symbiote, which, coincidentally, it finds its way to Eddie Brock, a disgraced journalist who blames Peter Parker for ruining his career. In the comics, neither Eddie nor the symbiote are the good guys, and torturing Spider-Man is their shared revenge. In this film, however, Eddie Brock is a hero. He's a gonzo journalist, getting in people's faces to uncover the truth to save lives. He can't be bought, he can't be corrupted, and he even gives money to the homeless. He's basically a dirty version of Captain America. This is not the comic book version of Eddie Brock. This is an alternate reality where Eddie Brock is a true hero. Well, if that's the case, why not make Peter Parker a true villain? See, even in the comics, Eddie Brock views himself as a victim of Peter Parker's life. In his head, Eddie Brock is the hero and Peter is the villain. So why not make this film the story told from Eddie's point of view? And with a few small changes, it can easily be done if you replace Carlton Drake with Peter Parker. In my version of the film, Peter Parker is not Spider-Man at all. You don't even have to get into if Uncle Ben is alive, because Peter Parker is not the main focus. I would want to have Gwen Stacy, or Blonde, we can assume is Gwen, floating around the lab, and maybe Mary Jane, or Redhead, we can assume is Mary Jane, as arm candy at social events. But what's important is that Peter is the head of his own major science corporation. He's rich, he's powerful, and he can crush anyone who gets in the way of his work. He's basically a young Norman Osborn. If you want to get into his backstory, maybe his company logo is a spider. And he mentions he picked a spider because when he was in high school, a spider tried to bite him, but he killed it. And it was at that point he learned when something tries to attack you, you need to destroy it. The movie can play out pretty much the same way. Eddie confronts Peter about some kind of violation, which leads to Peter telling Eddie's boss to fire him. So, just like how in the comics Eddie blames Peter, in this version of the film, Peter really is at fault for Eddie's failure. Then, story, Peter is dealing with the symbiotes. He comes across the Venom symbiote. He feels it isn't strong enough, not vicious enough, not evil enough to keep. Peter can even try to become one with Venom, but one way or another, Peter needs to deem the Venom symbiote unworthy. He must reject it. Then, plot, Eddie gets the Venom symbiote, Peter sends his goons out to kill them both, hijinks ensue. Now, you could end the film with Peter joining with Riot, but I didn't like Riot, so forget that. I would instead say Peter puts on a power armor suit, maybe something like the Iron Spider suit. This would allow an interesting fight because it wouldn't just be same powers versus same powers like we've seen over and over and over again. But given that Peter has studied the symbiotes, you could give Peter's power armor built-in symbiote weaknesses like sonic blast and fire, making for a pretty intense fight. Then after the big fight, when Peter's defeated, he looks at Eddie combined with Venom and says to him, "How could you join with that monster?" And then Eddie turns to him and says something like, "You're the real monster." And then, of course, Peter dies or loses or whatever, goes bankrupt or goes to jail, whatever. You just do whatever you want. The film ends. And Eddie realizes that he is an actual hero, just like it ends in the regular film. All things considered, it could be an interesting take on an interesting version of the Spider-Man Venom dynamic. But of course, as always, I'm Mr. Divery, and that was just one geek's opinion.
If I say it one more time, if I say it one more time, if I say it one more time.